Look, if you're commuting 40 minutes a day and maybe hauling kids or gear on the weekends, you want something that checks all the boxes without breaking the bank. That's where the Sportage and Forester come in, but they go about it very differently. So which one should you pick? Hello everyone, this is Sully from CarlandTV. It's time to hop in the front seat because today I'm putting the 2025 Kia Sportage and Subaru Forester head-to-head to see which one actually earns a spot in your driveway. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below. The subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. This is not necessary, but those little clicks help a brother out. Plus, it pushes me to give you more valuable car-related content on your screen. Now buckle up and let's get back to the video. So here's the thing, when you hop in a 2025 Kia Sportage and start it up, you know right away, this isn't some hot rod SUV. That 2.5-liter four-cylinder under the hood is quiet, smooth, and pretty laid back. It's pushing 187 horses through an 8-speed automatic, and when I drove the AWD X Pro trim, it handled just fine on daily routes. But yeah, it's not going to win any stoplight sprints. I clocked 0 to 60 in just over 9 seconds, and it feels every bit of that. But around town, it's easy and fluid, and the shifts are clean. If you're not out chasing speed, it works. Now I hopped into the 2025 Forester right after, and it's a different vibe entirely. Subaru's still rocking that old-school 2.5-liter boxer engine with 180 horsepower mated to a CVT, and you feel that low-end grunt a little earlier. It's not fast. It takes around 8 seconds to get to 60, but it gets there smoother than you'd expect. What really stood out for me, though, was the traction. Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive still delivers in crappy weather and dirt roads, and the new dual-pinion steering setup, which it borrowed from the WRX, believe it or not, tightens things up just a hair over the old model. Neither one of these rigs is thrilling, let's be honest. But they're dependable. The Sportage feels more refined when you're cruising pavement, while the Forester just has that mountain goat confidence when things get loose. So if you're doing mostly city and highway, I'd say go Kia. But if your weekends look like gravel road ski trips or random camping detours, Subaru's still the safer bet. All right. Now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about cabin space materials and the kind of vibe you get when you actually sit inside these two. Right from the get-go, the 2025 Kia Sportage feels like it's inspired by German engineering, but this time it's only cheaper. I'm not kidding. Get inside an EX or higher, and you're greeted with this slick curved digital panel that stretches across the dash. There's a 12.3-inch infotainment screen available, backed by clean graphics and snappy responses, and everything just feels modern. The center console's got a rotary shifter, a set of hidden dual-function touch controls for climate and audio, and an overall layout that punches above its price tag. The interior materials are soft touch in all the right places, and there's even an optional two-tone color scheme if you want to break away from the all-black cave look. Rear seat space is great. Honestly, I didn't expect this much room back there. And you're working with around 40 cubic feet of cargo space behind the seats. There's also a dual-level cargo floor, which is actually super handy if you're loading gear or groceries. Now, the Forester is less flashy, but more functional. Subaru didn't go wild with redesigns, but they cleaned things up with more sound insulation, better material choices on upper trims, and standard roof rails right out of the gate. Most trims get that big 11.6-inch vertical screen now. Finally, and it has got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto to boot. The seating position is more upright, visibility is excellent, and even with adults in the back, no one's getting cramped. And yeah, with the rear seats down, it opens up to a massive 75 cubic feet of cargo space. So yeah, Kia wins on flash and modern styling, while Subaru nails utility and comfort. The choice here quite depends on what you're after behind the wheel. Now when it comes to tech, this is where Kia really flexes. The 2025 Sportage doesn't just give you tech, it drowns you in it, especially once you hit the EX trim or higher. I spent a lot of time with the 12.3-inch panoramic touchscreen setup, and it's honestly one of the sharpest displays I've seen in this price range. Pair that with a fully digital gauge cluster wireless phone, Charging available Harman Kardon audio and a trick set of dual-function haptic controls that flip between climate and audio, and you feel like you're in something way more expensive than it is. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto come standard, though. Weirdly, they're not wireless unless you upgrade the screen. Still, the user interface is fast, intuitive, and miles ahead of where Kia was 5 or 6 years ago. Also, props to Kia for offering a Wi-Fi hotspot and remote features like their Smart Park-style remote parking assist if you go high-end. Now Subaru has finally joined the modern age. Most 2025 Forester trims ditch the old split-screen setup and go straight for the big 11.6-inch vertical touchscreen. And I gotta say, it's a clean setup. You get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto standard on every trim, except the base plus a wireless charging pad and a slick UI that looks like it belongs in the same world as what you get in the Outback or Ascent. It's not flashy like the Kia, but it's simple, responsive, and gets the job done. Of course, it's quite obvious that Subaru keeps things more straightforward. Kia goes big on eye candy and layered controls, which look great, but might take a second to get used to. So if you want bleeding-edge tech and show-stopping screens, you have to pick the Sportage. But if you like clean, functional, and easy to use, you would love what the 2025 Forester has to offer. But none of those things matter if these cars aren't safe and reliable, right? Safety is non-negotiable when you're hauling your family friends or just a trunk full of weekend gear. But hell yeah, both the 2025 Kia Sportage and Subaru Forester bring a serious safety game to the table. Starting with the Sportage, you're getting a healthy list of standard driver assist features right out of the gate. Forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking. Lane keep, assist, and lane departure warning are all there. But where Kia really goes above and beyond is in the options. If you're willing to climb the trim ladder, you unlock some wild stuff like navigation-based smart cruise control, a 360-degree surround view monitor, and a remote parking assist that straight up lets the car park itself. It's like something pulled out of a tech demo. Blind spot collision avoidance and rear cross traffic alerts are also available if you specify them correctly. Subaru, on the other hand, has been putting standard all-wheel drive and safety at the top of its playbook for years, and the 2025 model keeps that tradition alive. Every single trim comes with the latest version of Subaru's EyeSight Safety Suite. That includes adaptive cruise control, pre-collision, braking lane centering, and even emergency automatic steering. The camera-based system is smooth, not overly intrusive, and it's one of the better-tuned ones I've driven in real-world conditions. Subaru also adds rear seat reminder systems, reverse automatic braking, and a new hands-free power liftgate to certain trims. Both of these rigs get 5 stars from NHTSO, so you're solid either way in terms of crash protection. So if peace of mind is at the top of your checklist, you really can't go wrong with either. Now I know you're curious about the fuel economy of these two SUVs. Well, it's an important factor, because obviously nobody wants to put up with a fuel chugger. Starting with the Sportage. The front-wheel drive version gets an EPA rating of 25 miles per gallon in the city and 32 miles per gallon on the highway. If you spring for all-wheel drive, those numbers dip just slightly to 23 miles per gallon in the city and 28 miles per gallon on the highway. But here's the surprise, I actually squeezed out 31 miles per gallon on a real-world 75 miles per hour highway loop in the all-wheel drive X Pro Prestige model. It's not bad at all for something riding on all-terrain tires. Kia clearly did some work on aero and gearing, because that number was better than I expected, especially given how boxy the Sportage looks. Now the Forester on paper edges the Kia out by a bit. Subaru has got the all-wheel drive formula down to a science, and even with its standard symmetrical all-wheel drive, the 2025 Forester hits 26 miles per gallon in the city and 33 miles per gallon on the highway in most trims. The Sport and Touring trims drop by just 1 mile per gallon in both categories. When I ran the same 75 mile per hour highway loop in the Forester Sport, I hit exactly 31 miles per gallon, the same as the Kia, despite Subaru having standard all-wheel drive across the board. So what's the takeaway here? If you're doing a ton of highway driving, you're probably looking at a wash between the two. But if you want that slight edge in daily fuel savings, without sacrificing traction, the Forester's more efficient around town thanks to its CVT and lighter all-wheel drive setup. But you know what? There's something I always tell folks when they're shopping for a daily driver. So you see, warranty coverage can save your butt down the road, and not all brands treat it the same. Take Kia, for example. When I first bought into the brand years ago, I'll admit I was skeptical. But after clocking close to 100,000 miles without a hiccup and knowing I still had a warranty left, I was sold. The 2025 Sportage brings that same peace of mind. 10 years or 100,000 miles on the powertrain, plus 5 years or 60,000 bumper to bumper. No joke, that's best-in-class coverage. On the flip side, Subaru doesn't lag. In fact, I owned a Forester that took me through 5 winters like a tank. But the coverage isn't that jaw-dropping. You're getting 5 years or 60,000 on the powertrain and only 3 years or 36,000 basic, which feels a bit thin for a car that's built its rep on reliability. And recently, I've heard a few folks gripe about oil burn and long-term CVT issues once you're out of warranty. So yeah, Subaru's still a solid long-haul rig if you treat it right. But Kia's warranty is like driving with insurance built into the sticker price. If you're planning to keep it for the long run, that's hard to beat. After spending real seat time in both the 2025 Kia Sportage and Subaru Forester, I'll say this, they're aiming at 2 different kinds of drivers, even though they sit in the same showroom row. The Sportage feels like the future, bold styling, massive screens, high-tech features, and one of the best warranties in the game. It drives smoothly and cruises quietly, and for folks who want something stylish and packed with value, this is certainly a good purchase. The Forester is not trying to impress you with gadgets or sharp edges. It's about getting you to the trailhead through a snowstorm or across town when the roads are garbage. That symmetrical all-wheel drive system and classic Subaru simplicity are just things you can bank on. The cabin is quieter, the ride is softer, and it's just easier to live with if you value practicality over polish. So which one's the better SUV? If I were handing the keys to someone who values warranty tech and on-road comfort, I'd say Sportage. But if I knew they lived up north, had dogs, or hit gravel roads every weekend, I'd point them toward the Forester without blinking. Either way, you're getting a solid crossover. It just depends on what kind of miles you're planning to put on it.